Parang soca in a rima. Fans heard of my parang band, so thousands flocked the grandstand. Evel Cock was the MC. When he introduced me, people jumping like carnival to my rendition of Serenal. Alpagata, alpagata, uno rum, uno parata. Maria, 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 mi corazón. From Porter State to Faizabad, everybody go crazy mad. Maria, 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 mi corazón. Born to us, a child was born. Born to us, a ever-loving son. Like a thief in the night, he showed his light, and he meant no harm, just to save us from damnation. Hooray, hooray, hurrah, 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 they say, our Savior was born today. It was through his light, while a shepherd's flight, but they just couldn't believe their eyes. And when he come, man, you know them non-Christian get together and pound nails in his hand. And on the third day, he rose again. So you see, he shed his blood for we. Kuchilala, Sibeti Kuchilala, Sibeti Kuchilala, Sibeti Kuchilala, Kuchilala, Sibeti Kuchilala, Sibeti Kuchilala, Sibeti Kuchilala. This pretty Indian girl, a bunch of white in Karatal. She says she come from Calcutta, and she want to take me dinner. When I reach home by the baby, all she had hope to offer me was Kuchilala, 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 Kuchilala.
This is Caribbean Vibe.
Kuchilala, 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 Kuchilala.
In case you don't know us, you're just twisting the dial away and managed to bump into us. This is ZIZ Radio from Adam St. Kitts.
This message brought to you by ZIZ and the Fire Department of St. Kitts and Nevis.
I am Woman Fire Officer Louise Clark from the St. Kitts Nevis Fire and Rescue Services with your safety tip for today. Keep items that can catch on fire at least 3 feet away from anything that gets hot, such as space heaters. Smoking materials can cause residential fire death. If you smoke, take precautions. Smoke outside, choose fire-safe cigarettes, never smoke in bed, when drowsy or medicated, or if anyone in the home is using oxygen.
This message was brought to you by ZIZ and the St. Kitts Nevis Fire Department. 29 minutes moving up to the hour. Welcome to our fire conversation right here on the morning show. With me this morning, I have Ramel. Timothy will be out for a couple of days, if I can put it that, couple of weeks. He won't be here. Not that he's sick and he has COVID, so let's put that out of the way. He's on vacation.
Early.
Yes, he's on vacation. Welcome to the studio as usual, Ramel. How are you doing today, man?
Yeah, I'm good and ready to go. Good morning, listening audience. Good morning, JQ.
Morning.
Yeah.
All right, so what we have on the agenda for our discussion this morning?
Okay, so we are basically going to continue in our conversations in firefighter health and safety. And we would have gone over some stuff the past couple of Tuesdays, and we now come to a point that I consider we would have touched it early up in the early shows when we were just starting out. I think we might have touched it probably in one of those shows that we did with police as well. We fire department, we have to comply with traffic rules. so that the listening audience understand that even though we are driving at beyond the speed limit, we are blaring sirens, we are honking the horns, we still have to adhere to the rules of the traffic. We have to approach stop signs cautiously. We can't just run through a stop sign. Nothing gives us the authority to run through a stop sign carelessly. We have, when it comes to the intersections now, you have those stop signs. I mean, the stop lights rather. You have to proceed cautiously. We can't just run through like before, because you have lights now giving directions. When a light is green on one side and I'm coming from another direction where it is red, the green light has to go. And if they do not hear that siren, you have a possible accident. So the driver of the truck now would have to remember that, hey, cautiously. So sometimes we slow right down almost to a stop, so that the person coming from the other direction have enough time to hear the horns and hear the sirens, so that they can stop. And then we proceed cautiously. So the listening audience, I want you to understand that even though, I mean, the siren gives us leeway, the siren is really for the other motorists, the other persons using the roadways. Hey, an emergency vehicle is approaching, and you need, not you should or you if you want to, you need to give way. Pull to the side, pull off the road as far as possible, and allow the emergency vehicle to pass. Now, I would like to use a video that our counterparts in Antigua is using. And it's a video where two ladies were driving a vehicle and the fire engine was behind it. Sirens blaring, horns honking. But that street, he had parking on one side, so they could not overtake. They had to wait until this vehicle cleared way. Now, both ladies in the vehicle, one of the ladies was saying, girl, you need to move, pull on the side, the fire truck is behind. And the other driver was like, and I am moving now. I sure they ain't an emergency. They just want to pass. Me moving. And the other one was like, please move, move, move. And the other lady was like, I said, me now move. They ain't got nowhere to go. They just want to pass. When they got home, the fire engine was parked by the driver's house. Right? Parked by the driver's house. The driver's house was the house that was on fire. And because she failed to give the truck leeway to get to the house, more damage was done than what would have been done had she moved. Now, that is just a video.
That actually happened in Antigua?
No, I'm saying that's a video that the fire department is using.
Okay.
But that could easily become reality, because we do have persons who do those type of stuff. The fire engine, the ambulance, the police blaring, and sometimes they either run with the truck to try outrun it, or they just don't move. But I use that video as just as a scenario to show person that this could become reality very easy. Because one, you assume that we have nowhere to go, and you don't know that really we have either it's your property or your family's property, or somebody lose their property because you obstructed the vehicle from getting there on time. So what I would like to say to the general public, whenever you hear, again we would have mentioned this, whenever you hear an emergency siren, whether you feel like they're playing around, whether you feel like they're just trying to get by, you do your part. Pull on the side and let them go by. What they are going to do is not really your concern. Just your concern is pulling to the side and allow these vehicles to pass. It is very important. It is critical that you do so. Okay? So, yes, so that you understand, we do have to comply with the traffic rules. We are not above the law. We are not above reproach. We have to adhere to the traffic rules, just like anybody else.
All right.
So I hope that would have cleared up any misconceptions that we might have had. Okay, so motor vehicle collision are the second leading cause of firefighter death. Now that is statistics that would have been maybe from America, because you know they are bigger, they have more responses. That don't really happen here. That's a weird thing in St. Kitts. We seldom have accidents where the truck is involved or where firefighter lose their lives. But it is not far from reality. Any negligence, if we don't pay attention to what we're doing on the road, driving a fire truck that weighs maybe like 18 to 20 tons, maybe less, maybe more, depending on which truck we're using, at high speeds, past 40 miles per hour, that truck will not stop touching the brakes. It will take a bit of time before it stops. Any vehicle in front of that truck will not get the opportunity to move. So it is very important for the driver of the truck to pay attention to traffic as well, and speeds, and other motorists on the street. So not because we have leeway, you just drive recklessly. We driving these trucks, we have to be more careful than anybody else, because we have the lives of the other firefighters on board. We have a truck that costs $1 million plus, and then they're getting more expensive. You also have the lives of the other motorists, other people using the roadways. So we have to take all of these things into consideration. And in saying that, it brings me to the next point, where emergency driving requires additional consideration. Now, it's not easy driving one of those fire trucks, and I have been driving fire trucks since I was 21, thereabout.
Wow.
Yeah, I started my career in firefighting when I was 19. I got my truck license when I was about 21, and from there, like the 2 days after, I was the truck driver. Brand new, just get my license, I was the truck driver. It is a lot of tension, a lot of stress, because you have to take this 8 foot wide, maybe 15, 20 feet long truck, 18, 20 tons, and you have to drive that sometime at speeds above 40, 50 miles per hour, and not touch anything, not get into any accidents. Yeah, you are responsible for the lives of the persons on that truck, and as I mentioned before, as well as the lives of the other motorists, pedestrians. All of these things the driver now has on him. So it's a lot of focus and stress. So these type of drivers, they really need more consideration. I don't, whatever it is, maybe more an incentive or something added. Right, as the statement would have mentioned, added considerations, more than what is already considered. It's not easy, and collision consists of a series of separate collision events. Well, that's more related to accidents and so forth. But I want to re-emphasize on the stress that the drivers have while driving these trucks. And even if something does happen, sometimes the general public they're not very easy to deal with. They're not easy to deal with at all. We get abused verbally. I mean, how you doing? How you this, that, I can't drive, I come with empty truck, and that added a lack of appreciation for what we do. I mean, I'm going out there to risk my life, I'm going out there to risk my life. There's a high possibility that I might not make it back. So knowing that and hearing the general public making those type of utterances, sometimes, again, it frustrates the driver and even the other fire officers. Emergency vehicle operators are subjected to traffic regulations. I think I would have gone over that. Yeah. And exemptions are legal only when operating in emergency mode. So you see, we come back to, if you're just driving the fire truck regularly, you have to adhere to everything now. There's no leeway. You can't bonus stop. You can't run down. You can't. Once you are not in emergency mode, and I want the public to understand this too, once any emergency organization is not in emergency mode, then all the legal aspects we have to adhere to. We have to stop at the stops. We have to stop at the red lights. We have to stop at the giveaways. We have to stop. We have to adhere to all and every single law as it relates to the traffic. Okay, but what I realize, even for foreigners, persons who come in, maybe visitors, tourists, it doesn't matter whether a fire engine is siren is on or off. Once they see it, they move. They always move. And if that could become a practice, because you don't want your fire truck to be tied up in traffic, because we do get emergency calls while we are returning from an emergency call.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you can be driving and go from being not in a responsive mode to
Yes.
being
In an emergency mode.
Okay.
And I think that too would have caused some misconception, because they figure, oh well, you just drive from here to there and you had on a siren. But because you're reaching traffic now, you put on your siren because you want to get through. That is not the case. Fire department, let me speak for fire department. I can't speak for anybody else. We do not use sirens to manipulate traffic, especially when we are not in emergency mode. We don't do that. So once that siren comes on, it's business. It's business, not time for playing around. So we're coming back from Matilda High Summer bushfire. We got another bushfire over in Cairn. Siren on. Siren on and we go. So that would be the reason for that. But outside of that, we don't do that.
And that's the reason why you'll have two trucks going, because you just came from one fire and probably don't have enough water. So you need another backup truck. So that's why you have
Right.
two trucks going at the
Right,
same
but
time.
what we do, we seldom ever leave a scene empty. We always replenish
okay.
before we leave that scene, because we know the possibility of another call is a high chance that might happen.
Right.
Whenever you find us leaving the scene with an empty truck, is because base is close.
Okay.
It's very close.
Right.
So 5 minutes we're gonna be at base. So we just go to base instead of going to dig out hydrants and connect to that. We just go straight to base,
Okay.
connect to the pedestrian standpipe, and then we just refill right
Okay.
away.
So that's why you guys are just so long on the scene then.
Yeah, because we have to, after overhaul and that type of stuff, we have to make sure that the truck is filled. So you have to choke hose line, connect to hydrants, refill, clean up, wrap up all the hose, roll up the hose, put them back on the truck, and then we go back to base.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's never a time where that truck is never, and I will emphasize, that truck is never on the road empty. Even when you're not an emergency call, there's always 1,000 gallons of water in that truck. Always.
Okay.
Always.
Before you continue, I was going to let the public know that the lines are open. So if they want to get in and ask a question or highlight something, that's totally up to you. 465-2555, that's 2555. I'll ask you to put on your headphones. Let's take our first call for this morning. You're live, and good morning to you. Hey, buddy.
Good morning for your chief
Hey,
and my colleague there.
Yes, morning culture.
You go.
Yes, man.
I would suggest that for your next helmet, measure your head, because the helmet's so big that you feel so far. Anyway, I'm glad to hear that the video what my colleague talk about in Antigua. Because some years ago when I was living in St. Thomas there, I was by a friend gas station. And I said, me and boy down in the west got a big fire. And you know, one the man in the gas station said he don't care one alphabet. No, he house. I said, man, don't say that. That's a bad attitude. When I look a man from there, they pull up in the car. He said, boy, come jump in here, don't really want fire.
Wow.
And when I reached down, it was a long 3-floor building. When I look at it, all I could have said, well, okay, all I got was my camera and me traveling legal documents. So I just watched it for a while. I said, nothing could be salvaged from this. So I just turned off and went. So you see, when people see these things passing, don't be ignorant and say, you know, move.
Yeah.
Just look where he said, when she went home, she found the fire truck there was your house. And you know what she was saying now? If I didn't know.
yeah, man.
But she well know.
See,
But
no.
you put ignorance in front. So I am glad that you speak about that. a lot of people. And the last thing I want to say now, this is why it is important for people when they're driving on the street with the vehicle, they have the music to a volume that they can hear any siren from any angle.
Right.
Because with this loud music, siren right behind them and they cannot hear it.
Exactly.
So I'm so glad that you brought out that incident that you experienced on the video. So thanks again. You're doing good, Jico.
Yes, man.
Mine. Change the hat and put on in you.
All right, Culture.
Doing an uncle fit me now. My head is too big. Okay.
All right, man.
Yeah, cool.
All right, Culture.
Yeah.
Thanks for the light moment and sharing your experience as well.
Yeah.
I'll let you continue.
Yes, as we were speaking about not the traffic laws and fire department basically adhering to the rules and regulations. Once an officer, if there's an accident and an investigation is done, once the officer is found negligent, the operator could be found liable and could be charged. So that is another stress. It's not like, oh, well, it's a fire truck, they're going on for nothing. No. If it is found that the officer or the driver was being negligent, he can be found liable and can be charged for the incident.
Right.
So, again, we are not above the law. We are beneath the law.
Right.
We have to adhere to the rules. An exemption does not relieve the driver from reasonable care. So we come back again to being responsible. Because we have the leeway to do a lot of things, it does not exempt you from being careful, being responsible, and being reasonable. All of these things we still have to remember. I mean, sometimes when the bell goes down and that adrenaline starts to move, I mean, anybody who has ever experienced an adrenaline rush, you know the feeling. You know the feeling. Everything is just different. A driver might drive faster than he normally drives because of the adrenaline rush. Even worse, he's in a vehicle where he's required to drive fast because they're going on an emergency.
Right.
You still, old school firefighters, they will tell us, hey, watch you know you light the fire, yo. You're going to help people put out the fire, you light it. But of course, that was for humans. Of course, there is some sense in it. I mean, that because the fire, you must drive reckless. Because if you don't reach the fire, then you're in a help.
Right.
So you still have to drive careful, responsible,
Right.
make sure you get to the fire.
Right.
We are here to help people. All right? Okay, the use of personal vehicle, and again, this is another touchy topic. The use of personal vehicles to respond to fire and emergency medical service calls constitutes a fire department function. Now, there are persons who like to run behind the fire truck or ambulance just to get through traffic. Now, fire officers, we do respond in our personal vehicles, but our personal vehicles don't have a siren. It doesn't have flashing lights. All you have are your hazard lights. But we do respond in our personal vehicles. However, if anything was to happen, then of course you're going to have to justify because you're not in an emergency vehicle. So then you need justification as to why you were driving above the speed limit. And I mean...
So no matter your excuse, you're not exempted from that.
I mean, you're not exempted, but of course, you would have to have proper justification. You're a firefighter, you were en route to a fire emergency. I mean, if a proper investigation is done and it is proven that, yes, you were going on the same run that the fire truck was going, that's justifiable, and I believe you should be able to at least not be held liable. But what we try to do, we respond, but we do not run behind the truck. We don't tailgate the truck. We find out where the call is, and we get there. We get there in time to at least assist. But of course, we don't drive reckless. We would not run any stops. We would not run through any giveaways. We will not run any red lights. But we respond in our personal vehicles. I don't know if futuristically something could be put in place to at least cover
That aspect of it.
that aspect of it.
Let's take this call. Good morning.
Good morning, Brother GQ.
Yes, morning, Mr. Politics.
And good morning to the good fireman in there. Romel or Timothy?
Rommel, the young one.
Young man, okay, yeah. Yeah. So I just lock off the machine, eh?
Yeah.
I just lock off the machine. Guy, you do some. I just want to ask a question. Now, anyone in the public, right, could be a voluntary fireman. You could come in the fire service and get training from you all.
Yeah.
And if you are called for voluntary help, you in the community could come and voluntarily come and help put out fire in your community and your own.
Yes.
If you don't get some fire training from you all, just like something like me now.
Yeah.
And before you all come, and I don't know how to handle maybe the fire with a hose or something, I don't know what to do. Maybe to get a pickaxe or something and go and start something before you all reach. You are the people voluntarily just do that in communities and so?
Yes, we do have that mechanism in place where we have volunteer firefighters. We are persons, the regular person who intends to volunteer the time.
Okay, it's the reason for me to answer that, to ask the question, right? Fire is a very dangerous thing.
Yes.
When it comes to emergency fire and other things. And anybody could assist to put out the fire, even before you are reach.
Yeah.
I believe that was something great. Because they don't know how to do it, and they do whatever. Whenever you are come, you know, you tell him whatever, and you know that comes to the police and got to involve.
Yeah.
And then we do the investigation and whatever, and then we go from there. Anyway, I listen to it, please.
Yeah. Okay, well, in response to that question, yes, we do have that mechanism where you can be a volunteer firefighter. I mean, anything that complements the staff that we have, which is not as, what should I say? It is not as ideal as we would like it to be. Of course, we welcome the volunteers. Once you are trained, and we would have said it before, and we just mentioned that recently, we do not want you to do anything past your ability. So you would have to be trained. And once you are trained, you know what to do, you have the know-how, you have the knowledge. Once you're unseen of a fire and you're there, the volunteer, whatever it is you can do to at least reduce the spread, and you can do it safely. We have to emphasize that it can be done safely without putting yourself in danger or anybody else or making the situation worse. Of course, you go ahead, but once it's a danger, it's a risk. The risk is greater than the reward. We recommend that you wait until backup comes. The best you could do, you call fire department, you make sure that the perimeters are secured, make sure people stay away. And then, of course, you wait until fire department shows up.
Let's take this next call. Good morning, your life.
Good morning, GQ.
Hey, good morning, man.
Rambel.
Yes, boss. What's going on?
Hi, good. I tune in a bit late, but I don't know in relation to stress on the fire personnel if this area was mentioned. Is that any time of night, you're deep in your sleep and you're being called. You got to get up and you got to get out there and get your wits about you and be ready to move at any time. That is an additional stress. So which means the firemen in themselves, they need rest. They need to rest and rest properly when they're on duty. In addition to that, driving the fire appliance, if you're not a trained fire truck driver, right? The siren alone, the sound of the siren alone
will pull you and cause you to drive fast if you're not a trained fire truck driver. So you have to ignore the siren, look at your traffic, your surroundings, and make sure you can get to that surrounding safely. Right? What I would like you to explain, Ramel, is if when you're en route, I don't know if this was done, is when you're en route to the scene and you have a puncture or something to the fire truck, what you do from there. I'll listen, continue to listen now, I fear.
All right, thanks for your question.
Okay, so the question that was asked, I started my, just for the record, I started my early years in fire department attached to maintenance. I spent a lot of years in maintenance of the fire truck and what have you. If there's a puncture on the road with a fire truck, the fire trucks don't carry a jack and they don't carry a spare. So you have to call backup. So backup is very important and you have to call them immediately.
Wow.
Then you also have to call in the maintenance crew because that has to be rectified immediately as well. Mm-hmm. We have a full functioning maintenance team at the fire department. These guys are like top notch. So as soon as they get the call, they grab a spare from base, dump that on the truck with all the tools and the jacks, they're gone. They change that on right there. And immediately that spare is taken to the tire shop to get it fixed. So we don't just go and put it back down at base. It is fixed ASAP, so it is put back in the stock with the spares.
Right.
So that's basically what we would have to do in the event of a puncture while we're on scene.
Okay. We'll take our final call. Line 3, that's going to be you. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Morning, Romel. Jennings here.
Yeah, Jennings.
I have an observation and a question. I realize they're building some high-rise apartments, right?
Yeah.
And does the fire department have a say in the emergency aspect if something was to break out, evacuation and so forth? Because the other day I observed like Wellington Road apartments.
Yeah.
Was something put in place for the tenants to know how they're going to evacuate in case something happens and something like that? I just was curious. Thank you.
All right. That's going to be our last question for the morning.
So I'll quickly try to answer that. I know we have a representation on the building board from the fire department. As far as whether or not something was discussed with the tenants of that building as it relates to emergency evacuation, I'm not able to answer that question now because I'm not the person who serves on the board, so I would not have that information at hand. However, I could do a little research, and Jennings, when we come on here next week, I'll be probably able to better answer that question for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Romel, we are at the end of our program once again. I want to thank everyone for listening and viewing, if they did so this morning. And your closing words, man?
Yes, as usual, thank the listening public and those who called and those who made observations and, who would have added to the information that's being shared. We want to thank you. And as usual, I want to encourage you to adhere to the protocols, the COVID protocols, be COVID safe, and of course, use the information that we share and be fire safe. Remember, if you hear the siren, just pull to the side. Yeah, thank you.
This message brought to you by ZIZ and the Fire Department of St. Kitts and Nevis.
I am Woman Fire Officer Louise Clark from the St. Kitts Nevis Fire and Rescue Services with your safety tip